All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Uh, Thanks for being here today for this CTL ELC collaboration. I'm so excited to get to collaborate with Brad once again for another workshop. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
That's right.
I'm Allison Boye, director of the CTL. You know me, and I think you probably know Brad too, our senior instructional designer from the ELC. So today, Brad and I are focusing on strategies for teaching hybrid courses. So I'll get us started with a look at some general best practices. Then I will pass it over to Brad, and he will walk us through some really great technological strategies that you can employ in Canvas for those online components that you might use in your hybrid courses. Does that sound okay?
Yep.
All right, so let's get started. So first, Brad and I thought it would be smart just to make sure that we all know what we mean when we say hybrid in connection to higher ed, because there are a lot of different definitions kind of floating around out there. So the general definition of hybrid courses is classes in which instruction takes place in a traditional classroom setting, augmented by computer-based or online activities which can replace classroom seat time. And that is pretty much in keeping with how Colin officially defines hybrid courses here. Colin defines it as regularly scheduled face-to-face meetings at a specific campus location mixed with online instruction. So in short, hybrid courses here are courses that meet in person regularly, with some online substituting online instruction or out of class instruction substituting for that in-person class time, okay? So let's take a look at some kind of big picture general best practices for those online components or those out of class components that you might include in your hybrid course. So first, I want to talk about a few suggestions for effectively setting up those online components with your students. So first, you really need to be mindful to set up very clear expectations and objectives for those hybrid components or activities. So anything that students are going to be doing online or outside of the face-to-face classroom. So this could be things like, how much time should your students allot to those activities? You might spend a little time discussing time management with them, communicate some expected time on task for those online learning activities, especially since your students are really going to have to be more self-directed for those components than they are in the face-to-face classroom. And that's true for any version of online learning, right? They really need to be able to manage themselves a little bit more than they do when they're in your classroom. So similarly, you need to be very clear about kind of the logistics of those components as well. So when are those activities or assignments due? How should they be completed? How should they be submitted, etc.? Never assume that students automatically understand everything that they need to be doing, especially when things start to get a little bit more complicated with technology and not being in the classroom. Yeah, Scott, you're absolutely right. Setting expectations is important in any teaching modality. And that is an amazing book by Ken Bain, What the Best College Teachers Do. If y'all haven't read it, I highly recommend it. So next, so kind of similar to this, you really need to provide clear instructions about technical requirements specifically. And you might already be doing this in your classes anyway, but again, with a hybrid class, you need to be very pointed about it and purposeful. You need to make sure that students know what they need to have, what they need to be able to do to access and engage in those particular components. I think it's really smart to offer some kind of technical orientation or training early on in the semester. so that you can help students get acclimated to the technology that they're going to need to be using, inform them where they can go for additional support. Hopefully they are aware of the ELC and IT and all of those things, but in case they're not, make sure that they know. Again, don't ever assume anything about what students already know. Don't make assumptions that they already know how to do everything there is to do with technology, because it's just not true. By the same token, make sure that you're comfortable with the technology as well. So if you are struggling, or if your students are struggling with those technology tools that are really integral to the hybrid format, that learning process is going to be even more challenging than it already is. So you really want to lay the groundwork for everything as best you can. So in terms of actually designing those hybrid online or out of class components, there are a few things that you're going to want to make sure that you do. First and foremost, make sure that you're choosing those asynchronous strategies and the technology that you're using with intention, okay? Don't just use those out of class periods to give students busy work to make up for the in-class instruction. You want to select the strategies and the tools that are going to be really well suited and take advantage of the format that you're using, okay? So again, it's not just, oh, they're not going to be in class, so I'll give them some things to fill out, right? Don't just throw technology at the wall and see what sticks. The desired goal for hybrid courses is really to improve the quality of teaching and learning, as well as to make it more accessible, right? So take advantage of the format that you have here, embrace it. You also want to make sure you're taking efforts to align your in-class activities or instruction with the out-of-class independent learning that your students are engaging in. I think a common pitfall of hybrid course design is creating in-class activities and out-of-class experiences that are really only loosely related to each other, rather than purposefully and explicitly connected to one another. So for instance, online activities can prepare students for in-class activities that they might be doing the next week, or vice versa. They might start something in the class and then continue it outside of class. You could introduce a topic or an activity during the face-to-face portion of your class, and then their online learning activities could build on that initial introduction in some way. That's just one example. Or again, perhaps they begin their learning outside of class, right? They're using that out of class time to kind of get their feet wet with a topic and do some digging on their own. And then when they come back to class with you face-to-face, you can expand on that information. You can engage them in reflection on what they learned. You can work it into a class discussion, etc. So just as with everything in the classroom, you want to make sure there's really smart and purposeful alignment between those components. You also need to make sure those out-of-class components are engaging. Incorporate interaction when you can. Those online learning components, again, should not be busy work. And just because your students aren't in class together physically, doesn't mean they can't work together, even if they're working together asynchronously in some way. So don't rule that out as a component, right, for these hybrid portions. So the next piece is very similar to that idea of setting expectations, laying a foundation for your students, and that is providing structure for those out of class or online activities. Remember, just like we already said, students are going to need a little bit more direction when they're not in the classroom, if they're not very self-directed on their own. So for instance, if one of the activities that they're doing online is a discussion, right? Make sure you're doing things like assigning students to respond to particular posts, or if you're giving them some peer feedback to engage in, make sure you're giving them very clear and specific guidelines for the parameters of the activity. You're giving them a rubric to use. Again, anything that's going to build a framework and provide some structure for those activities to help make sure students are really on task and accomplishing what you want them to accomplish during that time. Now, if your out-of-class activities involves having your students watch videos, which is very common, if they're watching an instructional video, which is great because that gives students the benefit of pausing, backing up, rewatching things if they need to. You really want to make sure you're breaking up long videos. You probably already know this by now, but it's really smart to present material in smaller chunks, maybe 5 to 15 minutes, to really match students' attention spans. Another idea that I really like is this suggestion of providing video guides for your students if watching a video of some sort is part of the activity. Give them something to focus their attention before they engage with the video. These could be things like anticipation guides or questions that students need to be able to answer at the end of the video, maybe something that then they have to prepare to bring back to the face-to-face classroom. It could be some guided notes that you provide to them, helping them identify key terms or concepts or make connections between ideas. It could be something like a graphic organizer that helps them sort information and take notes on their own as they're watching the video. So again, this kind of falls under that structure idea as well, and helping students be a little bit more directed with these activities. So we're talking about having them watch videos, but I also want to make sure we take a few minutes to consider the things that students can do outside of the face-to-face classroom besides watching lecture videos. And by the way, there are so many other things that they can do. So the sky's really the limit here. So here are just a few ideas that I liked in particular. So obviously they can work with other students on collaborative assignments or tasks. Just as we already discussed, these kinds of collaborative activities could traverse the formats, right? Perhaps it's a group task that they start online, then they complete in the face-to-face classroom, or maybe they work with each other outside of the classroom and then they give some sort of presentation when they come back to the face-to-face classroom. Maybe their groups meet in person, then continue to work online, etc. So there are a lot of different ways that this could be implemented. Of course, a tried and true favorite is for students to engage in some sort of online discussion with one another, synchronous or asynchronous. In the additional resources provided that I emailed to all of you with the link to this webinar, I've linked to another webinar about this very topic, facilitating engaging online discussions. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. I'll also post that handout on the CTL website on the recordings page as well. So if you don't have access to it now, you'll be able to download it from the CTL website later, okay, when I post a link to this video. They can also use that time outside of class to engage with ancillary materials. So it might be videos from primary sources, not just their textbook, or relevant podcasts with commentary, or interviews with relevant experts on the topic. It could be reading additional articles about the topic, etc. You know, there's all kinds of amazing resources out there that students could use that time to engage with. You could assign students to conduct online or asynchronous peer reviews of each other's work if there's a project that they're working on or something like that. I think that's always a great idea. They can engage with other students in kind of a student-led Q&A message board. I think that's a really fun idea. They could build class-wide collaborative documents like a wiki or a blog that the whole class contributes to. So it could be a great time for them to work on that. I love this idea too. They could engage in field work outside of the classroom, depending on the subject matter. So they could do things like conduct observations or interviews. Again, you name it. There are all kinds of really interesting things that they could do. And again, there's so much more. This is really just scratching the surface. I think the idea here is to really think outside the box and come up with some strategies that are really going to take advantage of that format and be very purposeful. Okay, again, getting away from that idea of busy work. So now I'm going to hand things over to our resident technology expert, Brad, and he's going to show us how to do some of these things in Canvas.
Howdy.
I will stop my share for you. Okay, Brad?
Awesome. And I shall begin mine. Let's see here. Which one do I want? I want that one. Howdy. So, yeah, one of the always most difficult aspects of teaching online, whether it be a fully online course or in a hybrid course, is that engagement factor, and that creating assignments or activities that are not simply passive, watching a video, reading a passage from a primary source, but combining that just like you would do in a face-to-face class. Combining the reading of that source. You may do a handout in your class of a short reading, and then you have a discussion over it, or you take a quick quiz over it, or something of that nature. And the quest is to then reconstruct that experience in the online space. How many? Well, I think it's kind of hard to find this out. The little raise hand thing, yeah, we've got that. So raise your hand if you do small breakout groups in your face-to-face classes. Who does that? Couple, Julia, awesome. Oh yeah, there they come. Everybody, lots and lots of hands being raised. Yeah, breakout groups in a face-to-face class are awesome. And part of the reasoning behind that putting students into a breakout group is that it can be much more beneficial to them to have these sort of in-depth discussions, exchanging points of view if the group is smaller. You can do a discussion in the online space, and when it's open to the entire class, 25, some of you teach larger classes, where they combine them into 50 or 75 person classes. And in those cases, it can be extremely overwhelming for the students, scrolling through, 75 discussion posts to find the one that they want to comment on. So breaking things down into smaller groups can be much, much more beneficial, just like in the face-to-face class. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is the, and you confirm that you can see my Collin College, that I have the right screen shared. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to set up that collaboration aspect. And you do that using groups in Canvas. And the groups option in Canvas is controlled through the people link over on the left-hand corner, or the left-hand navigation menu. When you click on people, you'll see here groups up at the top. So you have everyone, and then you have groups. And when you go into the group section, it's going to be empty. It's going to look like this. And the first thing that you want to do is make a group set. It's important to understand that a group set is not groups, individual, group 1, group 2, group 3. As a whole it is, but the set is there so that you can do multiple sets if you want. Let's say that you have an assignment that you want a set of groups to work on, and then you have a different assignment that you want to put students in different groups for them to work on. So you would create 2 different sets and put your students into the groups that you want them in those different sets. And then you would use the group set for a particular assignment, whichever one you want to use. And I'll show you how that works here in a minute. But to start off with, we're just going to create a group set. We'll call this one a project group. You can allow students to self-sign up. Don't typically do that. You can tell Canvas to create your groups for you, split students by number of groups, split number of students per group, so forth and so on. I usually just create the groups later. Save that. So now up here, instead of groups, I have project, and that is a group set. You can see over here on the right that I have 0 groups defined. I can add a group by clicking plus group. Just going to call it group 1. I can limit the number of members in this group if that's helpful. That can be helpful with larger classes. And this class is pretty small, so I'm just going to divide students into a couple of groups. So now over on the left, I have the students that I have in my class. And over on the right, I have my 2 groups. If I click the little caret next to the group, I can see that neither one has students in it. I can randomly assign students. If I click that, then Canvas will do that for me. This doesn't matter here at Collin because we don't divide our individual courses deeper into multiple sections. For us, a section is a course. So anytime Canvas refers to sections, it's usually talking about K through 12, where they'll have a second grade master Canvas course, and then it's divided into different sections. But we don't do that. I'm not going to auto divide at this point. I can manually do this just by clicking and dragging, various and sundry students. What I like to do in my online classes is I'll wait. My group project starts halfway through the semester. They have a final project. It has 5 different components, and they work in a group for the second half of the semester to complete the final project and its 5 components. And I wait until about week 3 or 4 to divide them into groups. That way I get a better understanding of each individual student's sort of class interest, how engaged they are with the class, and I try to, a couple of people that are moderately or highly interested combined with a person or 2 that may be less than moderate or little interest, and see if I can help them, those highly engaged ones, get those not quite so engaged ones a little more interested in the class. And I've found that to be pretty successful on occasion. Sometimes it doesn't work at all, but sometimes it does. So now I have my project group set, and it's divided into group 1 and group 2 with these students in each of those groups. If I know that I have another assignment that I want to students to work together on, then I can create another group set. And then I can create my groups for that set. And you can be obviously as expressive as you want with your group names. I tend to keep it rather generic. This time I will use Canvas to randomly assign students. And my groups are being created, and poof, I now have random assignment. So Emily, Ophelia, James in group 1 of the presentation group. If I go over to project group, it's Emily, Andrea, and James. Presentation, Taylor, Edward, which is me, Andrea, project, Ophelia, Taylor, Edward. So I probably, if I would have divided them up manually, I would have divided it up a little bit more between the two groups. But now I have a couple of group sets that I can use in various assignments. And what you're going to see, I'm going to go over to discussions now. And for, I'll just use this sample discussion. For your group discussions, if I go into edit mode here, and this may, by the way, look a little bit different. Some of you, I'm going to show you this real quick so I don't forget. In settings and feature options, there is a discussions announcement redesign that you can enable. And it looks a little bit different if you enable it. Discussions look and work a little bit differently. In fact, in some ways, a lot differently if you enable this. Now, Canvas is saying that eventually this will be the way that discussions and announcements work moving forward. But right now, it's just a feature, and you can therefore turn it on or off. So I turned it on. So let's go back over to discussions. And so you can see now the edit button's gone here. You have to go to your 3 dots on the right to go into edit mode. You have options like mark all as read, mark all as unread. You have sorting options that you didn't have before. You have being able to search by author. It's kind of like a Control F find on the page, but you can search by author and so forth. I'm going to go into edit mode in this sample discussion. And down here you have, this is a group discussion. If I click that, then it's going to ask me which group set do you want to use. So I'm going to select for this one, project. Now I can create a new group set from here if I wanted to. I prefer to go into people and make my group sets first and then assign the group set accordingly in whatever assignment I'm using it in. Anything discussion-wise, obviously, that you want graded, you have to click the graded, and then you get the other options down here. Point values, when it's going to be due, and so forth. So it looks a little bit differently to you when you save it. And you can see up here, up at the top, and this looks very different in the other view, and I'll show you that view here in a second. But you switch between the discussion for group 1 and the discussion for group 2 with this little button up here. So a quick word about groups. Where am I? Sandbox 1. So here's my sample discussion. I have it in modules. When I click into it here, you can see with my little breadcrumb trail up here, I'm in my sandbox course. I'm in the discussions area in sample discussions. You can see this is my left-hand navigation menu over here. This is my course, right? But when I switch to the group view, it takes me to the group area in Canvas. And this is actually outside of your course. And you can see over here on the left that the group has its own set of tools here. And the people within the group that you've assigned into this group have access to these tools. They can create pages if they want to. They can upload files if they want to. They can use a big blue button for a video conference. They can create a collaboration. They can even create their own discussions. And that part is very, very important because as an example on my final project, I have one discussion board where I want them to use this discussion board from the middle of the semester on as they're discussing with each other the various parts of the project. So I can see them working with each other and so that I can evaluate them and how they worked with each other. When I first started doing this, I had a big issue with students coming in and creating their own discussions. Well, it makes sense that they might do that. However, when I go to grade their participation in the final project via the discussion board that I supplied to them, if they went outside of that board and created new discussions and pages and so forth, I don't see them. When I go into SpeedGrader to grade it, I don't see them. I don't see any of them. And I'll go, well, you guys didn't do anything. So I give them a 0. Then I get these angry emails. Why did you give me a 0 on this? So I have to give very explicit instructions. And Allison, hit on this earlier, the massive importance in the online space of giving very explicit instructions to your students about what they need to do. And so I make it clear, when you click into your group, it takes you into a groups area. You have the opportunity to create new discussion boards and so forth. Do not do that. If you do that, I will never see what you post. I mean, I can see, obviously, I can come in here, but from a faculty standpoint, when you've got 25 students, going into the groups area and searching for the work that they did is problematic, to say the least. So it's important that you convey to them that they need to just use the one that you supplied to them. But this is the way it looks. It is outside of the course, and then to return to the course, you actually have to click back into the course to move back into it. Any questions about all of that so far? I know I'm kind of hitting on a lot of stuff. Can you hide the discussion option within the group? No, you can't, and that's a great question. And I love using groups in Canvas. I use them extensively in my online classes, but there are some issues with them. And one of them is, that this groups area offers them the opportunity to do all of this collaborating, which is great. But if they do it outside of the one that I assigned to them, then I can't see it. So it's problematic that way. Let's see. Great question, Dulce. Thanks. Okay. So while I'm here in discussions, then now I want to hit a little bit on that idea of making things a little more engaging. So here in this discussion, and this may be fairly typical in the online space, text, lots of text. And that text discussion board can go on for a long time. You have the opportunity, this area here in Canvas is called the Rich Content Editor. And in the Rich Content Editor, you have the opportunity to bring in many, many different multimedia items. You can bring in pictures, you can bring in videos, you can bring in podcasts, you can bring in various and sundry things that the students can engage with and then answer questions, then discuss. You can have them, as you can see down here in the options, you have the users must post before seeing replies. And that can be very, very important if you are asking specific questions in your discussion board, and you want each individual student to respond to those questions before they then go out and look at what other people said and what other, and like Allison said, frequently you're going to want to say, okay, you need to post your stuff, but then you're required to go and respond to at least 2 other people or 3 other people, or however many you want. In those cases, it can be very important for you to do the requirement that users must post before seeing replies. And that way they don't go read everybody else's and just kind of copy it for their posts. So for adding that multimedia, you've got a couple of options. You've got insert, and then you've got image. And generally with anything that you're wanting to add to the rich content editor area, you get the options of uploading the piece of content, finding the piece of content if you already have it in your course, if you already uploaded it, say into files or something like that, and user images, I believe, opens up your files area at the account level. Media, upload or record media, course media is stuff that you've already uploaded into the course, and user media is going to be media that you may have in your, so each one of these are going to offer you the option to upload it, or to find it in your course, or to find it at your account level. So you can do all that through insert, but you also have the options up here at the top of the toolbar. In the toolbar, you can add an external link, you can add a picture, and you get the same options: upload, find it in the course, or find it at the account level. One of the things that I want to stress is the value of using Canvas Studio for your videos. Canvas Studio is an integrated, for lack of a better word, YouTube. It's a video repository right here in Canvas. It exists in the course when you're in Rich Content Editor, and it exists over here on the far left-hand side, and this is your account level. I always upload videos that I'm going to use from Studio into the account level because I may use it in multiple sections of a course. If you upload it into an individual course, depending on the permission settings, and this gets a little wonky, but depending on the permission settings, you may not be able to share it in other courses. So I always use the account level, and then you can just click Studio. Everything that you have uploaded into the account level will then appear here, and you can choose one of those videos. And of course, the other thing about Studio that's a little bit different from let's see here. Display media tabs, that I don't really understand why they say display media tabs. Basically, what that means is that you're going to let students comment on the video. If you don't want students to comment on the video, turn it off. If you do, turn it on. If you want students to be able to download the video outside of Canvas, you can turn this on. Usually you don't. Once those are set, then you just click embed, and it's going to pop it right there into your rich content editor. And it's a really nice player. Students can actually watch it the size that it is rather than blowing it up to full screen, unless they want to blow it up to full screen. And they obviously would have that option. So when you save it, it looks something like this. If you tell it that you're not going to allow comments, then this bottom part here with comments area will not be there. It'll just be the video player up top. We can upload one video more than one time with different names. You sure can into Studio. I feel like I'm missing questions over here. Whether to grade the whole group collective or each student individually. It's a great question. On my final project, I do both. There are aspects of it that I graded individually and aspects that I graded as a group. And the great thing about Canvas and SpeedGrader is that if you have them divided into groups, then Canvas will ask you, do you want this grade that you're applying to apply just to this student, or do you want it to apply to this assignment for the whole group? So it makes it really easy for you to do that. One thing that I also do, particularly for these longer projects, I include a peer evaluation at the end of the project, and that's the fifth component of their overall grade for the, and I keep looking over here because I've got everybody's pictures over here, the camera's over here, I keep forgetting. Yeah, the peer evaluation is a means by which, when you get those emails from students saying, so-and-so just won't participate, I don't want them to affect my grade. Well, they're not going to affect your grade, first of all, because I won't let that happen. But second of all, you also have the opportunity through the peer evaluation at the end of the assignment, at the end of the project, to grade your peers on their participation. Now, what I tell the students is that this is all up to you. So the grade that you give them, I'm not going to alter it. Now, I have found it necessary to alter it sometimes, because sometimes they can be really mean to each other and give somebody a 0 who really doesn't quite deserve a 0 for the entire project. But that's neither here nor there. Now, one thing that I want to show you with Studio that is connected to this idea of engagement and interactivity. If you are working through Studio at the account level, over here on the left-hand side, then you'll see your list of all the videos that you've uploaded in here, and you can click the 3 dots on a video and you can create a quiz on that video. And it literally allows you, when you do that, there's one, you can put markers on the timeline where your questions are. I usually don't do that. You can display annotations on the timeline that help students get a little more in depth on certain things. So when we click get started, basically you advance your playhead to wherever in the video you want a question to be, and you click plus. You don't have a lot of choices. You got multiple choice, true, false, or multiple answer. Actually, let's do a true false. Red is green. And that is false. You can give feedback for a correct answer, for an incorrect answer, or general feedback, and save that. So now there's a question on the timeline. So up here on the right is done. So now this Articulate meeting video has, you can tell, a little quiz up here. Now when I go back into my course, and let's go to that discussion. And go into edit mode. By the way, and this is slightly not intuitive, but in, whoops, I need to do that. In, if you have a video in the rich content editor that you want to remove, put your cursor to the right of the video and backspace. You can't hit delete. You literally have to hit the back, put the cursor to the right and hit the back. If you click the video, normally if you click an image or something like that, you'll see the little outline of it and the squares and anything. You will see the same thing. You'll see the outline and everything, but if you hit delete or back or anything, nothing will happen. You have to put the cursor to the right of the video and hit the back button. So now I'm going to add the video that I just put the quiz on, and I can see here, this has a quiz on it. Select. And you get the option here, video quiz embed, standard embed, or video quiz embed. If you want the video to display the quiz, then you're going to do the video quiz embed. You can put multiple quizzes onto a video, and you can say on this one, I want to use quiz number 3. We only have one. So I'm going to embed that there. And scroll down and save. Now when I go into student view, whoops, I'm already there. Didn't need to do that. Go to sample discussion and get started. So when I get to that point, playing along. Where's my question? I told it to show the timeline marker, so that's why it was there. So you can see how you can actually craft a pretty good quiz. It's not, you're not going to be able to, get in depth. They won't have essay questions to answer or anything like that. But it is a means by which the student has to remain engaged with the material. I do a video orientation to my online courses at the beginning of each. They will, Pam, they will get if you provided feedback, they won't necessarily see the correct answer, but if you stipulate feedback, then you can let them know whether or not they got it wrong. And if they got it wrong, you can choose to give them the answer and feedback, or you can tell them revisit point 1 minute and 38 seconds in the video to get the information that you're looking for. Yeah, I have that, and I really push it. It's about a 15-minute orientation video. I push the long end of the chunking that Allison was talking about earlier, and um, clearly many students watch it and go walk away and or turn it on and go walk away and are doing something else while the video is going on. Because I have, in all honesty, I haven't yet gone in and added this kind of interactivity. That's my next project for the coming fall semester. And I'm really looking forward to that because I think it's going to I will say that the majority of the class does watch it and pays attention to it, and so it's very, very useful. Cuts way down on questions at the beginning of the semester. Those who don't, putting the quiz details in there will help that tremendously. So that's another means of not only getting something besides text into your online space, but then leveling up the engagement with it by getting that quiz, inline quiz onto the video so that the students have to stay engaged with it rather than turning it on and walking away. Can you create a quiz on a YouTube video? You cannot. The interesting thing is that you can add YouTube videos to YouTube and Vimeo videos. You can just paste the link in here and it will pop up here in your list of videos available for you to add to any course. So that's helpful in that right. Unfortunately, with quizzes, because the quiz is embedded onto the structure of the playback, the coding on the back end is where that quiz is inserted. So it's literally inserted into the coding of what plays the video. We don't have access to that in the video player that originates in YouTube or Vimeo. So you can't add them to YouTube or Vimeo quizzes. Speaking of YouTube and Vimeo, let's go back into the course. How are we doing? Oh, we're getting a little close. Sorry. Any questions on all of that? I know it's a lot of stuff. The ELC obviously is here. If you have additional questions or want to schedule a time with an instructional designer or an instructional technologist, they're also very much up on all this technology aspect to get a little bit more help. So let's go back into our discussion. There are some other options if you want to use pre-made material that you don't want to, and I'm not saying that you should ever do this, but that you don't want to quote unquote rip and make your own video of. When you're in edit mode, I'm going to get rid of that one. You have this little plug icon right here, and it's apps. And if you click on that and view all, then you have this big, huge list. Alexander Street videos, films on demand, Khan Academy. And you can go into any of these and you can do a, where's my search button? Okay, Khan Academy has made a liar of me. I'm going to close Khan Academy. I don't know what's going on with that. Let's go into Alexander. All of them should have a search option like this. So if you, I think Alexander has some good Shakespeare stuff. You find what you're looking for, and you can in all of these, it will offer you an option to view it before you make the choice to use it. With most of them, they offer either a link that you can insert that students click and it takes them out to. I usually just prefer to embed medium or large. You embed the large and voila, you have a big, huge Alexander Street, 12th night. I think this was 12th night. Yeah. So there's also a YouTube option there. And one of the stated reasons for using that route to add these videos, even from YouTube, is the ones that are going to pull up in your search are going to be ones that have been given the green light for educational use. So you sort of avoid the question of the issue of copyright. If you do come across something that you have questions of copyright about, Amanda Caudill, and I'm going to put her name into the chat. Amanda Caudill is our digital librarian here at Collin College. And if you have any questions about licensing or copyright for any digital content whatsoever, ask Amanda. That's what she does. I teach film appreciation, and the digital librarian, starting with John Leonard before he retired, and now Amanda, have done a great job of getting licenses for and putting all of our licensed movies for film appreciation into one library. There's only one or two movies that exist outside of that library. And so, and the library is password protected behind Collins' username and password. So it's really great. Go to them if you have any, or her if you have any questions about that. We're not covered by fair use because everything we use is education. So fair use, and of course, this is a better question for Amanda Caudill, but fair use does not necessarily make everything that normally has a copyright on it available for educational use. Particularly movies that are done for commercial purposes, you have to get express permission on most movies before you can show them, even in an educational. So the fair use law that was passed, I don't know, 2003, it has some cracks that things can fall through. So we have to, I always just urge to go ahead and check with Amanda to make sure that something that you want to use, you can use. And if it is covered by copyright, then she'll do her best to get you a license for it, and then you can use it. But she'll take care of that. Movie clips on YouTube. YouTube is a different beast. The onus for whether or not copyright is being infringed is the person who uploaded something to YouTube, not necessarily the person who's watching it via YouTube. So, I don't think you have to worry a lot about. But if you take a copy of Black Panther from YouTube and use it in a classroom setting, I think you're probably skating the line, even though you did not upload it to YouTube yourself. Go through our digital librarian for that stuff. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to Allison. I've talked enough. I could talk about this for another few hours. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to anyone else in the ELC, and we'll help you out. Allison.
All right. Thanks, Brad. Um, you showed us a lot of really cool things to use in Canvas. I didn't know about the apps piece in Canvas, and I bet there's a lot of people who are here who didn't know that either. So thank you for all of that. And with that, it is 4 o'clock, y'all. We have ripped through another hour of professional development. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. Hopefully you're taking away some ideas for things that you can do in your hybrid courses starting this fall and moving forward. And thank you, Brad, for teaming up with me again for this workshop. This is the last CTL webinar for the summer, so I will see you in just a few weeks in the fall, hopefully at Fall Faculty Development Day on August 10th. So go to the CTL conferences page to register. I'll be sending out some more reminders about that as well. And y'all stay cool in that brutal July heat that we have out there. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.